I'm calling this Germantown School District Board of Education meeting to order. If you're able, please stand and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance and a moment of silence.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Official meeting notification, Dr. Reuter.
Yes. Public notice of all meetings has been given by communication from the superintendent's office to the public, to those news media and who have requested such notices in the Milwaukee Journal Sentinel, Northwest Now, Express News, and the West Bend Daily News. Public notice has also been posted in schools throughout the district and on the Germantown School District website, as well as cable access channel 96.
Thank you. Roll call.
Medved.
Here.
Reineman.
Here.
Myself, I am here. Soderberg.
Here.
Loth.
Here.
Ewert.
Here.
Pollock.
Here.
Item 2, approval of the agenda. Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve the agenda.
Second. Tracy.
Tracy with the second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That passes. Item 3, reports. District Administrator update. Dr. Reuter.
Thank you. I just have a few updates from this past month for the board and the community this evening. As you saw in a public release this last week, the state report cards were issued across the state for all public school districts. Germantown School District scored a 77.3 and exceeds expectations as a school district. It's a slight dip from the previous year, and we were doing some internal work through teaching and learning and with our principals to do analysis of that state report card, what the data means. Mr. Miziak has met with each of our schools and done a presentation to the teaching staff to talk about all components and data components around the state report card and how that reflects our achievement and our growth over time. And we're confident with the work we're doing through curriculum this year, some of our standards alignment work and publishing of curriculum, that we're going to grow to a significantly exceed school district next year. State report cards provide us, like I said, the opportunity to reflect and also celebrate growth. We saw growth within some of our elementary schools and at the high school level, and that data is collected and again is one snapshot, but it is an indicator of success, the areas that we're doing well at and areas that we know we can improve in as well. From a programming standpoint, it's that time of year where there are music concerts starting to pop up everywhere. Just last week, GHS hosted the band concert here. It was a great show. Next week, there are 2 different band concerts here at the PAC with 6th and 7th grade from KMS, and the 8th grade band will be performing on the 31st. And then throughout the month of December, there are multiple elementary concerts. So anyone that's interested on the board, let me know. I can share that schedule with you as well. It was great to see our kids perform and that polished piece. Also, winter sports season has begun. Even this week, in a shortened week, after Thanksgiving, some of our basketball teams start with some tournament play. So we're just closing up. It feels like the fall sports season, and it's starting again right away. And again, it's a short week. We have one more day with students tomorrow, and then Wednesday is a day off for teaching staff and students and to celebrate the Thanksgiving holiday. So on behalf of the district, happy Thanksgiving to the board and our community members and parents.
Thank you. Any comments, questions? Okay. Moving on to item B, student representative report. Dr. Reuter.
Abby's here tonight to give us an update of what's going on in the district.
Welcome.
Good evening. Over at Amy Bell, it has been a wonderful start to the fall and winter. The weather has been great and the students have enjoyed being outdoors while enjoying the beautiful colors of autumn and the snow on the ground. The staff at Amy Bell loved visiting with the parents who attended fall conferences. Amy's Bell with character work education has been going really well. They have been recognizing students for demonstrating positive character traits and rewarding them with their certificate. They started with respect and now they will focus on gratitude. County line will be covered by the 5th graders in a little bit. Rockfield Elementary. At Rockfield, each day is filled with learning, fun, and new memories. The entire Rockfield school ended October learning about what it means to be responsible. They all signed a promise agreement about ways they will be responsible. They also had 2 field trips this month. The 5th graders went to an Admirals game and the 1st graders enjoyed a beautiful day at the Mequon Nature Preserve. This month, they focused on gratitude. The students are learning about what it means to be really grateful and reflecting on all the people and things in their lives that help them be the incredible people they are today. MacArthur Elementary. MacArthur is looking forward to focusing on gratitude this month. One way they think about gratitude is by choosing to appreciate the people and things in their lives. Practicing gratitude can increase our well-being and our happiness. On top of focusing on gratitude, the students will also work on developing skills like emotion regulation, positive self-talk, and stress management. The staff can't wait to see the growth happening in each and every student. KMS middle school students and staff wrapped up their first quarter and are continuing to work hard as they begin the second quarter. The school just finished up the production of the Willy Wonka. It was a huge success thanks to both director Michelle and assistant director Ms. Sawinski. Also, KMS principal and many students represented different groups in the Germantown Christmas Parade. KMS has posted a lot of pictures on Facebook from their learning, and they encourage you to check it out. Germantown High School. The high schoolers have started their second quarter and are working harder than ever. These past few weeks have been really busy at the high school. Seniors that have decided to continue their athletic career at the collegiate level have started to sign their commitments to the further schools. The Wall of Sound celebrated the end of their season with an indoor showcase. Dramatic Impact put on a wonderful play of the production Clue. The cross-country team had 2 runners advance to the WIA state competition. The girls swim and dive had 10 athletes, 8 swimmers, and 2 divers advance to the WIA state championship. A huge congrats to senior Christina Whitman for taking first in the 1-meter diving event. The War Chicks had an amazing competition at Franklin, and all of the fall sports are officially done and the winter sports are in full swing. GHS can't wait to positively cheer on their teams in their upcoming competitions.
Thank you. Great report. Any comments, questions? All right, thank you much.
Thank you.
Moving on to item C, County Line School Presentation, Mr. Eisenbach.
Good evening. Happy to introduce 2 of our 5th grade teachers, Mrs. Suva and Mr. Niles, who will in turn introduce some of our 5th grade students that will share their experience at the Upham Woods field trip that we have annually, which is also unique to County Line here in Germantown. Also want to take this opportunity to give a quick shout out to our 5th grade teachers for keeping this tradition alive, as well as volunteering their time so that these students can have this experience.
We are here tonight to tell you about an amazing field trip that we took in October. We spent 3 days and 2 nights camping at Upham Woods in Wisconsin Dells. We want to share all that we learned and explain all of the adventurous activities we participated in. Along with myself, 5 other 5th graders are here to showcase how beneficial this trip is.
My name is Mackenzie Quisenberry. Today I will be speaking about my experience at Upham Woods, specifically on the topics mealtime and cabins. While at Upham Woods, we spent a lot of quality time with our classmates, teachers, and even parents. Mealtime was a great opportunity to get to know others since we sat with the same group each meal. With it being served family style, we shared food, used our manners, and even had jobs to do like set up and clean up, giving us responsibility. I'm sure our parents appreciate this. Not only did we enjoy good time spent at mealtime, we were also able to relax and wind down with our cabin mates each night by journaling, reading, talking, and playing games. Even though this was an educational field trip, it was nice to be able to have fun while at the same time learning new things and using the knowledge we already have. Now let me hand it over to my next friend. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Elliot Lee. The Amazing Race was a really fun activity where we worked with our team to solve challenges so we could move on to the next clue. We learned teamwork skills and communication skills while working with our team. We also learned how to protect nature by picking up trash. Most of all, we learned how to build trust with our group. Black Hawk Island. Black Hawk Island was another awesome activity where we took a 2-hour hike with a naturalist or guide. We got to learn how people lived back in the olden days and about the history of the island. We also got to see all the amazing views such as cool rock formations, caves, different trees, and much more. Being able to see different sights and having the opportunity to be active made this hike so enjoyable.
I'm Elena Retlick, and I'm going to talk about the activities at Upham Woods, survival skills. Our survival skills class, we learned how to use a flint and steel. We also were taught how to build a small shelter using logs. These were very important life-saving skills. Peanut Butter Mountain. At Peanut Butter Mountain, we worked on our team building skills. This is very important because a lot of jobs include the skill of collaboration with others. Mr. Niles helped guide us on how to be successful as a team. Pond studies. In pond studies, we waded into the Wisconsin River and caught various pond creatures. Miss Suva helped point out what we caught, and I thought the little creatures were so fascinating. Being able to go out in nature and study pond creatures in their natural habitat was interesting and educational.
Hi, my name is Ryan Saxman. Some other fun things we did at Upham Woods included the campfire, archery, and canoeing. At the campfire, some students led the group while they sang campfire songs. We had a lot of fun and even learned some new camp songs. A huge thank you to Mrs. Beeman for helping us learn these songs. In archery, we practiced patience and accuracy while shooting at targets in the woods. Mr. Bauer did a great job teaching us how to shoot safely and properly. While we canoed on the Wisconsin River, we learned how to operate as a team and paddle together.
Hi, my name is Addison Lukert, and we are so grateful for this amazing field trip that we were lucky enough to experience. When you get to do an overnight field trip with your school family and have the opportunity to learn about the outdoors. The whole 5th grade wants to give a big thank you to all those who helped make this field trip possible. We first need to thank the PTA for paying for our bus to get to Upham Woods. Next, we'd like to thank the 5th grade teachers and Mr. Eisenbach for keeping everyone on task and putting the field trip together. We also want to thank the chaperones for taking time out of their day to help us learn and putting up with 60-some 5th graders for 3 days. Lastly, we want to thank the school board for allowing us this chance to go on this field trip. This was a great opportunity to make lasting memories. So,
Thank you!
I also wanted to thank you. I'm Mrs. Suva, or Angela Suva. I just wanted to thank everybody for giving us the opportunity to be able to still take this trip. After the past couple years being off, it was so sad, and many kids missed out on an awesome opportunity, but we just relished this trip and just love it. So we thank you guys for letting this continue, and thank you to you guys, the kids, for coming and sharing all that they learned and how much they had fun. So thank you guys.
Thank you. My kids had the opportunity to go to Upham Woods when they were 5th graders, and I'm thrilled that this tradition continues. So thank you all.
Thank you.
We definitely need to thank you, teachers, because while it is an unbelievable experience for our kids, the best part is that you want this for our kids. So they are literally creating core memories to have for the rest of their lives. So thank you guys so
Agreed.
much.
Thank you.
Yeah, one other comment on that.
Please.
My kids were able to attend. I was able to attend as a parent chaperone. I kind of mentioned it to the previous superintendent that we should try to expand this to our other elementary schools, and it didn't get done. I know you have a lot on your plate, Chris, but maybe it's something you and your team could work on.
Sure.
It's a great opportunity. If we can expand it to our other elementaries, everyone will benefit.
I agree. Thank you. Item D, start of school year donation report. Mr. Lamb.
Yeah, this evening I've asked Mr. Lamb, our Director of Student Services, or Pupil Services, to come and share kind of a recap of donations. As you know, as the board approving donations the last couple of months, we've gotten some very generous donations from the community, and Mr. Lamb's going to share tonight kind of a quick overview of how we've utilized those donations to help families, kids in need, and all students in the district. So, Mr. Lamb?
Thanks, Dr. Reuter. Along the theme of giving thanks, we wanted to acknowledge the so many generous community partners that we have, including Go Right Way, the United Way Backpack Coalition, Walmart, along with so many individual donors who have donated school supplies for students with financial challenges this year and in many years past. A lot of the items include notebooks, pencils, pens, markers, graphing paper, folders, other miscellaneous school supplies. Each August, the district hosts a school supply distribution event for families who have need. This year, the district served 85 families and a total of 154 students. And this is double the number of families and students that were served last year. And if we look over the course of going back 7 years, it's tripled since it first began. Well, since we first kept track 7 years ago. And this has enabled the district to serve so many more students with the increasing number of supplies that we've received. The supplies this year have been distributed to and will continue to be distributed to students throughout the year as needs arise. And we're fortunate enough to have some remaining supplies that if they remain at the end of this year, they'll be part of the August donation distribution event for next August as well. And then we'd also like to acknowledge the Das Barrel Room for their generous contribution this year. They donated funds to support our early childhood program. And new this year, we have 4K, and so it's an opportunity for us to serve students in an inclusive setting. And so we've purchased items with that donation, such as flexible seating options, fidgets, squishy items, flexi items, visual timers, books that include students with disabilities in them. And those have been purchased for each of our elementary schools to benefit each of our students in 4K, students with disabilities and all. So those donations have been greatly appreciated, and they've been far-reaching, and they impact and make a difference for so many of our students. So we want to thank our donors once again.
Thank you. Any comments, questions?
Yeah, Todd, a great report. Quick question. A noticeable spike from this year versus last year, year over year. What's the reason for that? Is that because of the need, or is it because of the increased awareness of what you're doing?
Probably increased awareness and recognition that need is out there. We had one donor this year that made a significant contribution to us, but nevertheless, I think it's increase in awareness of the need in the community.
And does the number of families served from 42 last year to 85 this year, does that correlate with our free and reduced?
That without looking, I'm not 100% certain.
Because that's a noticeable spike, the number of families out there that are in need. So regardless, I think this is wonderful. So thank you for doing this.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, moving on to item 4, citizen comments. First up, we have Amy Bremer. Welcome.
Hello, I'm Amy Bramer. I am the GEA President-elect and the representative tonight for the GEA for tonight's meeting. I teach Spanish and ELL at Kennedy. I wanted to thank the district for partnering with the GEA to collect food and cash for the St. Boniface St. Gabriel Food Pantry. We did that in late October. We're very happy to report that we collected more than 28 large boxes of non-perishable food and more than $450 in monetary donations. Please let me know if you have any questions, and I will try to answer them if I can, and if I can't, I'll take it to the GEA leadership and get back to you. And on a side note of my own opinion, I just wanted to say I applaud the young people here tonight. I'm proud of them for fighting to make change for something they believe in. No matter where you stand on the policy, I hope you will listen to how they feel. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up, we have Jade Newmiller. Welcome.
Tiffany Banks, 25, unknown. Samaj Billingshaw, 33, shot. AC Morrison, 30, shot. Maya Allen, 35, shot. Dee Dee Ricks, 33, shot. Maddie Hoffman, 47, shot. Aaron Lynch, 26, shot. Candy Reed, 29, stabbed. Hayden Davis, 28, shot. Marissa Castro, 39, shot. Cherry Bush, 48, shot. Keisha Geeter, 26, shot. Sorry. Morticia Richmond, 30, multiple stab wounds. Kathy Monroe, 27, multiple gunshots. Charmaine Marie, 27, shot. Brazil Johnson, 28, shot. Sasha Mason, 45, shot. Chinalika Hemingway, 30, unknown. Neora Maris, 50, shot. Ray Muscat, 24, shot. Fern Feather, 29, stabbed. Ariana Mitchell, 17, shot. Mia Parker, 25, shot. Kenyatta Webster, 24, unknown. Catherine Newhouse, 29, shot by father. Tatiana LaBelle, 33, beaten to death. Paloma Vasquez, 29, shot at her own home. Matthew Spaminato, 21, hit and run. Naomi Skinner, 25, shot by boyfriend. Cypress Ramos, 21, blunt force. Daryl Prince, 24, shot. Amari Lay, 20, shot. Leela Alcorn, 17, suicide. Blake Brookington, 18, suicide. Elul Conson, 23, suicide. Daphne Dorman, 44, suicide. Ford Vad, 17, suicide. Felix Joyce, 16, suicide. Mike Penner, 52, suicide. Melanie Rose, 19, suicide. Leo Etherington, 15, suicide. Rachel Brick, 23, suicide. Taylor Essena, 16, suicide. Haley Fieldman, 18, suicide. Hope Verbick, 17, suicide.
Okay, next up is Kaylin Zamboric.
Okay, so the names that you have just heard are those of trans people who have been brutally and violently murdered or have committed suicide. These people have died because of the discrimination, prejudice, and above all, the unacceptability and intolerable world, a world that continues not only to survive but prosper because of damaging policies, which, knowing or not, cause harm. Policy 5900 is one of these policies. The policy encourages the othering of trans people, as well as the singling out of them. When trans people become a category separate from other, it becomes very dangerous for them. Separate from the us and the them permits violence and hatred. This has been shown through numerous times throughout history. As a direct result of this policy, trans people are also more likely to commit suicide, especially if they don't feel safe or feel like they can talk to someone. Policy 5900 is creating a barrier between transgender students at Germantown and the help and support that they may need from others, whether it be other students or faculty members. I have many friends that this policy affects, and I know for a fact that they feel less safe at our school now because of this. Upon hearing about it, a petition was created at change.org with the purpose of getting this policy revoked. If you want to read it, I have it right here, but this policy currently has 1,296 signatures. That means that 1,296 people recognize how damaging this policy is and have taken action to get it revoked. We are here to ask you to reconsider your stance on Policy 5900 and understand the harm that it brings. Trans people are people and deserve to be respected.
Thank you. Emily? I can't quite make out the last name, sorry. Please introduce yourself.
My name is Emily Arndt, and I'm a senior at Germantown School District. Believe me, this is the last thing that I or any of us want to be doing tonight. We're kids. We shouldn't have to come to board meetings to debate with adults over policies that affect and even harm us, but here we are. Policy 5900 is inherently dangerous. Transgender students face considerably high rates of mental illness despite being one of the smallest minorities. This is due to discrimination and hate they face at school, home, and the workplace because of their identity. A study was done by the International Journal of Transgenderism that surveyed various transgender and non-binary people to compare rates of mental illness, self-harm, substance abuse, and victimization. The results found that, quote, mental health problems, self-harm, suicidality, alcohol use, and victimization experiences were generally higher than that of youth in general population studies, end quote. An article titled Suicidality Among Transgender Youth, Elucidating the Role of Interpersonal Risk Factors from the National Library of Medicine corroborates these findings. This study found that 82% of transgender youth consider suicide and 40% attempt. Having a single supportive adult can decrease the risk of suicide by a substantial amount. That one adult is more often than not a teacher, a teacher, coach, or group advisor. Furthermore, an article from the Journal of Adolescent Health states that queer youth are at a 120% higher risk of experiencing homelessness. A study from the University of Chicago has similar findings, as it found that 40% of the 4.2 million homeless youth in America are queer. That is 1,068,000 kids. The vast majority of these kids were either kicked out of their homes by parents who did not support them or ran away due to homophobia and transphobia. The children who ran away felt so unsafe living at home that they decided that living on the street was the better, safer option. It is abundantly clear why transgender students might not come out to their parents when it comes with so much risk. Please understand that we are not just talking about a name or a set of pronouns. We are talking about somebody's life, your students' lives. Trans people are people and deserve to be respected. Thank you.
Thank you. Ivan Lee, I believe. Welcome.
Hello, my name is Ivan Lee. I'm not usually one to talk too much about my home life, but if it'll help others and you to understand the problems Policy 5900 brings to transgender students, I will get a little personal. When I was told that I had a choice between telling my parents about my gender identity or not telling them and having teachers not be allowed to call me by my name and pronouns, I felt defeated. I knew my parents wouldn't understand my gender identity and wouldn't allow me to use my name and pronouns anyway. So in the end, it wasn't my choice at all. It was my parents' choice and it was the school's choice. I barely had any say. The school decided to force teachers to misgender me and dead name me in class. The choice for me was either to be uncomfortable at home and at school, or be uncomfortable at school while still hiding my identity at home. My pronoun and names are just basic part of me, and having people disrespect that part of my identity makes me feel like they don't respect me in all aspects of my being. It's not just about, it's about my existence and the acknowledgement of my existence. Having people constantly undermine things close to me like my name and pronouns eats away at me. It makes me feel less than human. No one chooses to be transgender because no one would choose to live a life where they are constantly disrespected. I choose who gets to know that I'm Ivan and I use he, him, and they, them pronouns. I choose not to let my parents know. My dad doesn't ask me about my days at school. My stepmom barely speaks English. I've had so many bad personal experiences with them that I wouldn't have enough time to say all of it. In simple terms, I've always had a hard relationship with my parents, mainly because they have not been there for me. This is why I choose not to tell them. I want to introduce them to the real me at some point for myself, not for the school, who's asking for clarification as to whether or not my parents accept me using a sheet of paper. I know who my parents are better than the school, and I should know when the right time is to come out to them. It is cruel for the school to choose for me who should know and who shouldn't know about my identity. Policy 5900 is making so many transgender students uncomfortable and is putting them in danger. I've already felt the effects of this policy, having teachers and peers dead naming me and misgendering me. My anxiety and depression have worsened considerably due to the forced disrespect this policy pushes on me and other trans students. Some students have a worse home life than me and have more dangerous consequences, like Emily had stated earlier. They also don't have a choice to be who they are in a place they thought was safe and affirming. I was just starting to get comfortable telling teachers and even other students about my gender identity. I'm now forced to interact daily with teachers who misgender me and call me by a name I never wanted. This policy is getting rid of support for a whole group of students at a school they thought they trusted. The support is what transgender students need, and getting rid of that would cause transgender students to get hurt or hurt themselves. We've heard the names of those who are being hurt for being themselves. Trans people are people and deserve respect.
Thank you. Lev Looms. Welcome.
I am Lev Loomis, a student at GHS. On November 22nd, 2020, a transgender Germantown student took a handful of Benadryl. This person's family was not accepting. School was the only place they could feel accepted. This person struggled with his identity and was trying to find himself, but all of the weight of being dead named, made fun of, and mocked, it was enough to make him attempt to commit suicide. He had struggled with his social anxiety, bipolar disorder, and depression for years. Is it really that hard just to accept someone for who they are? All people have to do is use he or they instead of she. All you have to do is say the correct name. For transgender youth with mental illnesses, Policy 5900 makes it 10 times harder for them to live and cope. Without support of other people, without the support of teachers and school staff, this is the type of stuff that leads transgender people, especially transgender youth, to commit suicide. Transgender people are people, and they deserve respect.
Thank you. Aspen? Welcome.
Hello, I'm Aspen Matuszewski, and I'm a freshman at Germantown High School. Being transgender is not a choice in the slightest. According to Ozzy.com, the author, who is a professor of physiology and neurobiology at Dartmouth's Giesel School of Medicine and is a former fellow of the OPID project, stated that, quote, there is evidence to suggest that increased levels of gender dysphoria, the variance between gender identity and chromosomal sex, may result from developmental exposure to abnormal hormone environments, especially increased levels of androgens in XX fetuses that can occur in conditions such as congenital adrenal hyperplasia, end quote. Being transgender is not a choice, nor is it a disease. According to the Mayo Clinic, what it is something in a person's genetics that limits hormonal production in the adrenal glands. Numerous studies have also found that brains of transgender youth are more similar to that of the cis brains of the gender they identify as than that of the gender they were assigned at birth. As I digress, I would like to share something with you, the members of the board, the ones who put this dangerous policy in place and the ones who have the power to remove it. I have kept a notebook since I was 13. I'm 14 and going to become 15 in a month. In it, I had a list from when I was 13 of all the ways my mind could think of to end my own life. I will read them all to you. Pills, hanging, suffocation, gunshot, stab wound, blunt force trauma, car accident, drowning, smoke inhalation, jumping off a building, bridge, or cliff, lethal injection, or poison. I am a human being. Do I not matter? Do we not matter? We are humans as well. If you have children, then how do you think it would feel if one of them committed suicide because of a policy you enacted took away the only resources they had? I would like to say that I am lucky to have supportive parents. I am one of the few that have that. I know people that do not have that, and they can be kicked out for what they are and they cannot control. Mr. Ewert, you told the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel that Policy 9500 is intended to, and I quote, foster an environment that is safe and welcoming for all students, end quote. Yet this policy is the reason why I and all of my fellow transgender students will never again feel safe at your school. This policy will get people killed, and for that reason alone, we are not going to back down. Trans people are people and deserve respect. Thank you.
Thank you. Ellen Gottry.
Good evening. Ellen Goldtree, Germantown. As many of you know, I was born in the Soviet Union, a country that did not allow for freedom of speech or freedom of choice. This is why it is important to me to have a choice in my children's education. I choose freely to be the voice for my children and to protect them from anything that I as a parent deem inappropriate or unacceptable. They are minors. Therefore, I have the right to know what is being taught in the classroom and the right to know everything that is going on in my child's life on a daily basis, personally, socially, and emotionally. This includes any choice that they make in terms of their sexuality. It is my responsibility to give them the guidance and support as I see fit as their mother, not the schools, not the teachers, and not anyone else's. So I want to thank the board for their continued support of the parents' rights to know what is being taught in the classroom, as well as any other ideology that is being pushed on them that I may or may not agree with. Our children are young and impressionable, and it is my job as a parent to see beyond the hype in today's society and teach them to be good humans. For those of you that know my 3 children, you would know that I've done a pretty damn good job. So again, thank you, and I will continue to fight for the right of all the parents in this school district.
Thank you. Okay, that is all for tonight. I'd like to recognize the students that did come and speak tonight. I know how difficult it can be to get up in front of a group like this and speak. I do appreciate the feedback that you have. Unfortunately, state law does not allow us to have a conversation with you during a board meeting, and we don't have this policy on our agenda tonight, so we can't discuss this any further. We're not allowed to. So I want to thank you all for using your voice to tell us exactly how you feel, and it is appreciated, and it takes a lot of courage to do that. Thank you. Sorry. Okay, moving on. Approval of the minutes, October 10th, 2022 Board of Education meeting. Do I have a motion?
Move to approve the October 10th, 2022 Board of Education meeting.
Second.
Is that Tom?
Yes.
Amanda and Tom with a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That passes. Item B, October 24th Budget Hearing and Annual Meeting. I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve the October 24th budget hearing and annual meeting minutes.
Second.
Tom and Amanda with a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That passes. Moving on to item 6, Personnel Committee. Amanda.
Thank you. The Personnel Committee met on November 7th and discussed a few things. The first thing that we started discussion but no action with at this time is the co-curricular study that is going to be taking place. District administration will be going through our list of co-curriculars and doing a comparison to make sure our coaches, advisors, and event workers' pay is in line with other area schools. We also discussed the winter and spring coaching contracts and Destination Imagination contracts. We are looking for a cheer coach. If anybody is interested, please contact Miss Nerdle. Right now, we do have a coach for the male diving team, but no students, so therefore we will not, that coach will only work providing he has students to help, he or she, excuse me. All other positions are filled at this time, and we wish all of our teams and co-curriculars and DI all the best and success this season. We also had discussion about new co-curricular ad of ice fishing. Not only is this a lifelong skill, but a fun activity for our students. As a first-year co-curricular, there is no cost to the district. If this proves to be a successful activity, we will adjust our budget accordingly going forward. And then finally, we had discussions of the elimination of the Medicare supplement plan. The district has offered this plan to retirees who met the eligibility of Medicare. The retirees are responsible for the entire amount of the supplement plan. However, there are more cost-effective ways for the few people that use this plan. Administration has contacted all those who would be affected by the elimination of this plan. So the Personnel Committee is bringing forward with a positive recommendation to approve the winter and spring coaching contracts and Destination Imagination advisor contracts.
All right, that comes with a positive recommendation. Does not require a second. Any discussion?
I'd like to challenge the students, the male students of Germantown High School, one of them to come forward and compete in the diving situation, so we can pay the coach. How's the best way to put this? We have no one that wants to do it now. I think anyone that comes forward is better than no one, right? Just have at it. You know, it might be fun.
And we have a coach.
And
so
we
you
have
can
a
be
coach.
coached.
You know, I can't believe it. We didn't have a pool, so we didn't have anyone in diving, right, unless they went elsewhere. And I think we did have some students going elsewhere, maybe at Menominee Falls. But now we've got the pool here. Come on, let's get going. That's all.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else? All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That passes.
The second thing we are bringing forward, the Personnel Committee is bringing forward with a positive recommendation to approve the addition of Ice Fishing Club for the 2022-2023 school year.
That comes with a positive recommendation, does not require a second. Any discussion?
I've got one. The DNR says that ice is never safe to go on. However, I support the ice fishing club, and I think anyone that participates in ice fishing can drill the first hole near the shore and make sure the ice is thick enough before they go out. So I think all is well. The other thing is, if you happen to drive out on the ice, don't park like you're parking in the parking lot out here. You got to leave a space between cars or several spaces so that the ice can support the vehicles. Otherwise, something very bad happens and you have to call a recovery company to get your vehicle off the bottom of the lake. So be careful and park wisely.
Mr. Nowak, did the fishing club, or excuse me, ice fishing club advisor, did he have a place in mind for doing ice fishing?
I at one point heard it was across the street.
Right. So we're not, thankfully, our students should not be parking on any ice.
No driving on the ice. I understand for this club, but, you know, down the road.
Yes.
You know, once they get their driver's licenses, you know, that might happen.
We recommend caution in all sporting events.
Always. Bob?
Bob?
You know it's cold when you go ice fishing?
Yes.
There's a little hole?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Our kids are wanting this, and we want to make sure that everybody has a place to go and co-curricular to be a part of.
I applaud this. That's one of the, I think we're up to, what, 80% of our kiddos participate and outside of our four walls in co-curricular activities. I think it's great.
Yeah.
Riddle me this. I think this is great, but how would one, if someone wants to start another club, what's the process? Because I would love to see us start a Fellowship of Christian Athletes Club, but we need a sponsor here. There's some other clubs that I would love to see here that I know there would be appetite from our kiddos to participate. So how do you start a club?
Well, there's student interest is one driver. Like in this case, advisors that are interested in kind of bringing something forward, but typically they start on a voluntary status, meaning it's not a paid position in its first year, and we monitor, participation and such going into the following year. We've talked quite a bit about doing an analysis of overall how many groups we have and the numbers and such, and we'll continue to do that going forward.
To start an organization, though, do we have a sheet that they fill out with information on it to make sure that it meets all the criteria that we're looking for?
And that funnels through Mr. Girdle.
Yep.
We currently have 3 applications to review this spring that students have requested new clubs that Ms. Unerdl and I have started to look at.
And the sponsor would have to be a staff person, or could it be someone outside of us within the school district? Like a parent?
It could be outside. We'd like to have that connection to school and have a staff member.
Great. Thank you. Thank you.
Anything further? All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That passes.
And finally, the Personnel Committee is bringing forward with a positive recommendation to approve the elimination of the Medicare Supplement Plan.
That comes with a positive recommendation, does not require a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That passes.
And that concludes our conversation.
Thank you. Moving on to item 7, Finance Committee. Mr. Loth.
Yes, the Finance Committee did meet on November 10th, so almost 2 weeks ago. Board item 7A, committee meeting updates. We approved the October vouchers. Brittany went through an ESSER update, and in the ESSER report, we have the administration has received the following feedback from Board of Education for potential use of the remaining ESSER 3 funds. And item 1 was mitigation, install air conditioning at all schools. Item 2, mental health, create a plan to support the increase in student mental health concerns. Item 3, safety, security badges with barcodes, bulletproof windows and doors. Item 4, learning loss, create a plan to support the loss of learning that students experienced. That would be during the COVID period. Next item, Brittany went through her variance report, and at this time this year, we are actually, we have spent $405,000 than last year. We are 4 months into this year's budget. The budget starts on July 1st. The next item is the facility usage agreement with the Village of Germantown. And we have a motion to move forward with a positive recommendation to the full board to approve the 2022-2024 facility usage agreement with the Village of Germantown.
Okay, that comes with a positive recommendation, does not require a second. Any discussion?
Yes.
Bob?
I attended the finance meeting when this was discussed, and there was a lot of great discussion. And at that meeting, I supported this, but based on new information that was in the paper, and also based on a conversation I had with a colleague, I'm not going to vote. I'm going to vote no on this, and I would ask that the board table this so that we could do additional research. In the paper this past weekend, on page 11, head title was "Village Board Approves Field Agreement with Hawks Football Program." The costs, their fees are going up from $12 to $20 per individual playing on that football field. Reason for that, quote, "The cost to maintain the fields has increased from $2,683 per year to $7,205 per year due to rising costs in chemicals, materials, transportation, parentheses, and inflation." I understand that we want to have maximum use of our bricks and mortar buildings because the constituents within the Germantown School District, they pay for them. But we are losing money year over year, and I don't really want to subsidize the Village of Germantown for them to use our facilities and make money on that. And Russ, I don't know if you have any comments to share, but I would, again, I think I would love to go back and have Brittany do some more research in terms of what our actual costs are year over year. Because if you look at this, if their cost to maintain one football field is over 100%, based on inflation, our costs are going up. And we need to stop the bleeding, not make any money on our facilities, not at all. We just want to break even on our facilities. And based on what I heard today, there's a partner of ours that's making money on our facilities.
Yeah, so I would agree with a lot of what you just said. Sitting on the Parks and Rec Commission, I've been exposed to some different numbers that have come across, and one of them is their fees and charge schedule for the 22-23 year, as well as some updates we took on the last meeting to increase those fees in regards to costs going up for their group, and they're passing those along to the users of that. What I did find alarming in that meeting was a lot of the revenue coming in and expenditures for those courses that we're holding, then leave them with a plus balance post the course running. Now, that plus balance in this particular sheet that I have is used to cover costs throughout their department. So the breakdown they have is probably not as finite as it should or could be, and it'd be helpful to have that so we understand exactly where. But some of the numbers that I'm seeing, and I'll just give you the total for all of the programs for winter, spring of 22-23. Revenue in $323,082.43. Expenditures $201,419.79, leaving them with a balance of $121,622.64. Now, I'm not saying that's what they have left over completely. There's a lot of other expenses they cover with that. But in contrast, I did forward the rest of the board an email that contained, and I'm not able to pull it up here, I don't have the internet access to do so, the programs we host in our facilities and the payments they've made to us in regards to these programs. So it'd probably behoove everyone to take a look and cross-compare what we're hosting and the expenditures, or the money we're bringing in compared to what their expenditures are on it. And we can kind of look at, are we ensuring we're covering our costs we're not losing the district money and becoming a burden on the taxpayers at the same time, just in order to house these programs for Park and Rec. I think both groups can work together to make that work, but to approve this before we have that discussion might not be the best idea.
Yeah, and I would also say that, you know, and the spreadsheets that you received, those were shared to you in open session for your representation on the village's Park and Rec Committee, correct? You're the Germantown School representative on that committee.
Correct, yes. So representing that, this was presented to us at the last meeting. This particular sheet, I don't have a digital form, so we'll scan it in and make sure every member has it to compare with the finance sheet that we had. And I believe Brittany has also had access to prior to the when I received it.
Decide if what they're paying us reconciles with what our facility use platform is. So we reconcile with those numbers, and then we let them know if the amount they're stating that they're paying us is correct. We have adjusted it slightly if they rented more than what they're saying, or vice versa.
Yeah, and I never knew what the usage of our facilities was until such time that you sent the spreadsheet. And you could see through the pandemic and going to current year, the noticeable increase, but I was surprised based on the hours of usage in all of our schools that we're only charging them $36,000. I don't think that even covers the 80% increase in water that they put on the school district. So I would just ask that we do additional research, and based on I don't think there's a sense of urgency in getting this done based on when the first agreement was sent to the village and the lack of communication back to us. So I don't think there's a sense of urgency to get this done right away. I would like us to break even in terms of value capture on revenue that we're losing because of inflation. We know it's going up based on the football field. 100% increase. I'm not saying that we need to have a 100% increase in our charges to the village, but certainly I think we could look at it, we could fine tune our pencil and do some more homework on that, and also put language in the contract or the agreement that they're not going to make any money. They're not going to make any profit over any of their programming in our school district based on their usage of our facilities. That's wrong. They shouldn't be doing that. And that it would be subject to audit, that we have the right to audit. Thank you.
I would be in favor of tabling this and doing further due diligence. Just for clarification, my understanding is the Germantown Village has not approved this as of today. And does the old agreement stay in place until we sign a new agreement, or does that expire at some point? Do we run out and they can't use the facilities? How does that work?
No, so the old agreement stays in place until, I'd like to stop that because I'd rather you review it every 2 years. But currently the old agreement just stays in place, so if you don't touch it, it just continues. I just want to state that the things that have changed in this agreement don't have anything to do with fees. They're completely separate, and they are beneficial to us. So if we took out the tennis courts, currently they don't pay for them, they would pay for them now. And then it also states that they have to let us know their usage by a certain date. Now they let us know, and it delays everybody else. In the old contract, we have it that you have to have it by July 15th for the whole year, which is helpful to us. Now it's by quarters, so they have longer time to tell us when they need to use our facilities. And now we put in place, they have to let us know 2 weeks in advance if they're not going to use our facilities. Before, they didn't have to do that. They could just not show up that day, and they'd be like, we didn't use it, and then we'd be out that money. So I agree that we should do an analysis on it. I'm not saying that our fees are appropriate or not. I just think that having this signed or agreed upon by the beginning of the school year, my ideal would be July 1, every 2 years would be beneficial for both parties.
And the reason why I kind of raised my hand was, you know, I could give them some leeway. Okay, their programming is already cast in stone. It's really not fair to the families that already signed up for this, because if we increase it from $5 to $10, it's going to be a pass-through cost. The villages are going to take it out of their healthy fund balance, which we don't have, which we're trying to make it more healthy. But when I saw it's for 2 years, our hands are going to be tied for 2 years. There's nothing we can do. And these are unique times right now with the inflation year over year and the recession. It's not going to get any better. So I think we have an opportunity right now to do it right, not make any money, just to stop the bleeding and do what's right for the Germantown School District and those that attend our schools and those that participate in the programming through the village. Because we have a wonderful relationship with the village. We want to maintain that. And I applaud them for doing what they did on the football field. They're recouping their cost. It is what it is. They're not making any money. I'm presuming these numbers are accurate. They're not making any money on this. They're just recouping their cost. And as such, the programming fees for football went up $12 to $20. I mean, it is what it is. I can't control that, so.
Tracy, do you have a comment?
Yeah, I was just gonna share that I'm comfortable tabling this issue as well, to kind of reiterate some of what's already discussed. I think as the building committee chair, we have a blessing and a curse. Blessing is the facilities. The curse is the fact that we need to continue to pay to upkeep this. And the fact is that costs are up. You know, they probably will continue to go up, and to maintain the facilities that we have, unfortunately, sometimes we also have to recoup those. So I suppose two separate comments, but I'm comfortable tabling this issue for the time being if that's what the board determines.
Just a question, again, for clarification. When you say July, you'd like to have this done, is this last July or next July? Should we have had this done already?
I'm sorry?
As far as having the agreement in place, was it last July or are we looking into next July, having
The
it
goal
done?
would be for July of '22 through June 30th of '24.
Okay, so we do have a little time.
Yes, I gave it to them in August.
Okay. Russ?
So, just a clarification on one other thing. I know when we looked at this when they looked at this at the committee level, there was some language in there regarding the tennis courts and a DNR grant that stated we couldn't charge for usage of that. Sounds like we don't have that documentation saying that, and they haven't provided it to us yet. And we've asked several times for it, and I did pass that along at that open meeting. Hey, this is a problem. We're trying to move ahead with this. We're going to move probably ahead with this without that, and look at amending it if it ever came forward or you were able to provide it. To my knowledge, they still haven't provided that to us. I think they're working on it from the people I've talked to over there, which I appreciate. It just seems that the amount of time going into this is problematic. My question would be, are we able to approve this and manage, is there a secondary agreement regarding the fees that we would negotiate at a later time? How do we do one without the other?
Sure, the agreement just references our fee schedule. So this says that you will be group priority number 2. What we do with group priority number 2 is a different conversation and vote.
Okay, and that's for us to vote on, and they would either just agree to pay those fees or find a different location for it?
Correct.
Okay.
I mean, I'm assuming, so we usually do that in May for the following July. So to give them notice if there was going to be a change, I guess would be respectful.
Yeah.
So what I'm hearing, Brittany said just a little bit ago, there's no reason to table this evening. This is the facilities use agreement. This has nothing to do with the fees. So we might as well go ahead and approve this evening, and we'll take care of the fee schedule at a later date. Is that correct, Brittany?
Yes, otherwise we're just on the old contract.
Right.
Okay, any further discussion?
Yeah, I don't necessarily agree with that. I think we lose our leverage by approving the agreement tonight without addressing the fees and revenue capture. We lose our leverage. There's no sense of urgency on this because apparently there wasn't. If you push this contract, the agreement to the village in August, and recently you just heard about it. It wasn't a big deal for them. So I think if we table this, which will allow you some time to go back, again, this is unique times right now. We're losing money on this. If the village increased for the little football club, over 100% increase in field maintenance, what do you think our costs are increasing for them to use our facilities? We're losing money on it. And out of courtesy, I agree. But did the village give us the courtesy of time so that we could budget properly for the 80% increase in our water fees increase? No, they didn't. And and please don't get me wrong. We have a wonderful relationship with the village. This is what's doing what's right and making the village pay their fair share, and today they're not. They're taking advantage of us. That's all I'm saying.
Tom?
I guess I could be okay either way. I like the agreement the way it's written today. It sounds like Bob has a few tweaks he'd like to see to the contract. We could put those in here now and then maybe move forward with it, or maybe wait until next month where we can properly write them in. But to the point that's already been brought up, that's not going to address our fee schedule. We've got to bring that fee schedule forward and make changes to that if we want to adjust any shortfall that we're experiencing today.
Maybe if we strike, maybe if we put in the motion, well, it's a motion right now, as a recommendation, if we amend the motion to reflect that we're approving the agreement outside of the fees, which will create the opportunity for you, Brittany, to do further research on that to come back to the board next month so that we can vote on the fee schedule. I mean, I would have no problem with that. And also put in there that language about the village will not make any money off of their programming within our school district, subject to audit.
Well,
I mean, I would be okay with that.
Brittany, I understand that there's benefits to the district of us moving forward with this. Are we really going to gain a lot of that benefit if we wait a month? Okay, then I'll make a motion to table.
Second.
Any discussion? Further?
I just had maybe two questions. One is there any benefit to tie the renewal and the fees, not necessarily under one vote, but tie the timing to how we approve this? Meaning, to your point, you'd like to have it in place by July, but if we update our fees in May, if the contract going forward also comes to us in May, having those two issues timed together, does that benefit us? And I guess my second question would be, is there a reason for a 2-year contract rather than just simply a 1-year contract, so that, to earlier points of costs going up, we don't leave ourselves open at all? If we tie everything together, if we're just renewing this every year versus a 2-year contract?
So the first question is, yes, that's what will happen in the future, once we're on the, now we're delayed again, so, but once we are on the July renewal, it will come in May. The second question is?
The 2-year agreement.
2-year agreement. 2-year agreements are normal. That you've never had one with the village. They seem to prolong where something's signed and then it never gets looked at again. So I think a 2-year agreement is looked at a lot more frequently than it has been in the past, but a 1-year agreement could be brought forward as well.
Brittany, similar, kind of along the same lines, but the fees, do we go through those every year?
They come to the board in May of every year.
So if
we have not recommended.
So
a fee
even
increase.
so, if the facility use agreement is there, we are still looking at the finances every year to go over everything. So we are dotting our i's and crossing our t's yearly to make sure that we are doing what we can for our students and school district.
Okay, I have a motion on the table from Tom and a second from Amanda to table. Any further discussion?
Yes, I do not wish to table this evening. This is not the fee schedule. We'll be going through the fee schedule in May, and we should approve this evening. So if you want to table it, I'll be voting no, and I suggest the rest of the board vote no also. This is not the fee schedule. Fee schedule comes in May. What's so hard to understand or not understand about that?
I don't think it's the hard to understand part as much as it is let's just get that extra language in there that Bob is looking for to Brittany, so then when it comes to us, everything is good to go. It's packaged up in a little bow, ready to go.
Yeah, I think we're just looking to clean up the language in the
I think,
agreement.
I think the fee schedule, or this,
No,
what
we
we're
still need to
approving
address the fee
tonight,
schedule, agreed,
what we're
but-
approving tonight has already been cleaned up. It's been cleaned up since November 10th. There's some updates in it already, and they are to our advantage.
Again, I would recommend that we table this because we're losing money. We need to find out how much money we are losing. You don't want to make money. And if we have a month to your mission, Brittany, I think we could get this done relatively soon. Even if we did approve this tonight and we address the fee schedule in May, we're losing a lot of money for this school year. Whereas our village partners, they're doing the right thing and capturing that money so they aren't losing money. I mean, we're in a recession right now. Inflation is through the roof. And we need to identify that and capture some of those dollars.
So you want me to do a full analysis on the entire fee schedule? Because if you change one, it changes all priorities.
I would have no problem with us, whoever is running our pool, and we had this conversation before. I can't imagine what the costs of the pool are today versus last year and the year before based on inflation. We should be capturing those costs. And these are unique times right now.
I don't know if we'll be able to get all that information in less than a month. The next board meeting's on December 19th, but we can try.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but don't the fee schedules usually go by season? You know, you got a spring, fall? No, it's just universal time? Okay.
It's by location. So our fee schedule, like our fee schedule, is that what you're stating? Or their fee schedule?
Our fee schedule applies to them.
Correct. So our fee schedule is just by football field, soccer field. It's by
Okay.
field.
So-
It doesn't matter the time of the year.
So currently, Parks and Rec just approved the fee adjustments for winter, spring, that we're going into this winter and spring. So if we adjusted fees sooner than May, their cost, they wouldn't be able to factor that in because they're working on publishing the book.
Right.
I've seen a full copy of it. So they wouldn't be able to capture it for this. So while I agree we are losing money
Right
through
now.
this school year, we are absolutely going to be losing money. I don't know how you reconcile doing that when they've already published their information. Unfortunately, they've published their information without finalizing that agreement with us. And to me, that's a problem for prioritizing on their end. I know we're trying to have a great relationship with them. I think we have a decent relationship with them. But that's a two-way street. And if we're not getting that in both directions, then we have to make sure, and regardless, we have to make sure we're covering our financial ends, not to push it onto our constituents in that manner. We can't do it. Now, I understand they're two different things. So the other thing I'll say about the item on the table for tonight is, if we approve it tonight, where does it go? It goes to the village for their approval. But we know they've been dragging their feet on their end of it and getting the language correct in the first place. When would we expect them to approve it on their side? Do we have any idea?
The answer is no, we don't have an idea. But it also, if you change the fee schedule, that could prolong it even more.
I'm not sure that under the current agreement, we can change the fee schedule until maybe even January, because if the language is the same in the current agreement as it is in the one that's coming forward tonight, it says we can change it no more frequently than annually. So if we've already set our fee schedule for this year, which may have had some adjustments to it, January 1st is going to be our next opportunity.
Yeah, all I'm saying is, I want to do what's right for the Germantown School District, and our budget year over year has been very challenging. It's going to be challenging this year. And if we could save one FTE or two FTEs or some other programming within our district by increasing the fees to the village, I have no problem doing that. No problem at all.
And I think a good place to start is the language in here, because if we can structure the language to state those fee structures aren't conducted annually, but on a basis of inflation or deflation, to maintain that theory of we are not making money off of this, it's to stay at covering our costs in both directions, this would be the document to do it in.
This is going to probably sound really rude, but is this something that we can go back to the district and say, listen, we are doing the best we can. We know you've had it since August. We've changed some of the language. Here it is for your, eyes to see. We are going to need your approval back by this drop dead date.
Yeah,
I believe
we've done that. They know tonight this was on the table after the Finance Committee and the recommended changes on the 11th the next morning. I sent an email with Brittany copied in to Village Administration stating, here's the most current version with the edits, and it will be approved, or will be brought to the board with a positive recommendation on November 21st.
Gotcha.
To Tom's point, I don't think that we can change fees every other month or whenever we want. And I think we need to give you the time to do the due diligence to be able to figure out what the cost should be. And if we retro that to January, or it comes back to us in January, we can grandfather those activities that are already on the books and then just apply it to all newcomers. Anybody with schedules from that date forward, we can retro everybody else and the new fees go into place for everybody else. I think that's a simple solution to this.
And perhaps we need to look at giving us the opportunity to adjust that fee schedule more than once per year if something extraordinary happens.
Correct.
All things that we can tweak in the language over the next month.
Plus, it'll create the opportunity for Russ, based on his role as our representative on the Parks and Rec Committee, to do more of a deep dive on those spreadsheets in terms of the revenue that they get and the profit. I'm calling it profit right now, for lack of a better term. You get some more clarity on that, so.
Okay, back to the motion on tabling. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
That passes. That's it for Building Committee,
Finance.
or Finance Committee.
That's it.
Okay. Moving on to Building Committee, Tracy Pollock.
Thank you. Building Committee also met November 10th. Just a few updates, nothing to bring forward to the board. Mr. Lord provided us an update on work order requests, gave us some insight as far as how that process works with regards to various fixes, updates, changes, repairs, those type of things. Generally speaking, and he provided us response times, closure rates, other statistics. And generally speaking, things are being closed at an above average rate in almost all areas. There are a couple of things, a couple of areas that need a little bit of improvement to be above average, which is a good thing, meaning that we're doing things in most everything pretty well. As part of the presentation and information he provided us, there was actually a comparison between how we're doing versus K through 12, and so that was the comparison used as far as how we fell with regards to average, above average. So good things, and he continues to work through some of that information, cleaning things up, getting things up to speed, getting new processes in place. He also provided us an update on his original walkthrough list that he provided us a few months ago with regards to those in-progress items, completed items, and he continues to, he and his team continue to review and process all of those fixes and updates in my opinion, pretty quick way, pretty good way. Lastly, he also said that dates for the upcoming building tours will be coming soon. Just as a reminder, these building tours will be treated like building committee meetings. So that the public is able to kind of come along with us as far as those different walkthroughs to see the buildings and get a better idea of what we have here within the district. That is all.
Thank you. Moving on to item 9, Teaching and Learning Committee. Mr. Ewert.
Speaking of a long discussion, we held one on November 15th. And I'd like to just say thank you to Jake and Chris for that discussion. I know it wasn't necessarily the smoothest at all times, but it was nonetheless a really good and important discussion to have. So going forward with that, we received update regarding curriculum review for 6-8 math. Currently, we are piloting illustrative math, which should finish up in December. We should expect an update on how it went and what our next steps will be in January. The board has been provided access to the content of that program. If you haven't, I suggest you take a look at it. It's pretty unique, interesting way you can view it as a student, a parent, or a teacher. Just use your email to log into that. They have just started the 6 through 12 world language reviews, which I believe is Spanish and German for us. This process is a little different than the other curriculum reviews in that every teacher is represented in the process. They started with a needs assessment with the goal of the programs falling into alignment with standards and creating common assessments in order to establish common expectations across the courses, which all sounds like a good idea. Jake, did I miss anything in that? K-8 reading review is the third and final one that we were reported with. This one sounds like it has been started and stopped for a couple of years. So they picked it back up by starting with an analysis of the current state and needs of the programs. This analysis included data, current components in the programs, and teaching input. They identified inconsistencies between the schools with materials being used, systematic phonics instructions, the needs for common assessment to all grades, levels, and vertical alignment in the program. The next steps will be looking to at the standards and prioritizing those standards. Then reviewing curriculum samples that will work with our other writing programs. Jake had shared it's important that our reading and writing programs work together in regards to the state standards. And that was the short portion of that meeting. So bear with me. We then discussed the human growth and development and its updates in regards to policy we recently passed in not offering a specific human growth and development curriculum. First, it's important to understand that health and I'll call it HG&D are not the same thing. HG&D is a subsection to health. And what's important to understand in regards to the state statute that's referenced in our policy, that does not supplant other statutes that govern what we must or we are required to as a district involve in our health curriculum. So currently, the review has shown that the middle school's curriculum does not violate our policy and would fall in and cover what is required from the other statute. The high school course does have some material, or potentially does have some material, that would violate the new district policy, and it's protected. That material is protected by the second statute. How that looks or plays out, we had a lengthy discussion on. There were several concerns kind of in both directions, and we'll continue those discussions as we work through that process. We did, as a committee, express concerns that we would be in violation of our own policy this semester as they look to address some of those issues in a more thorough review going, I believe, is starting next year in the FIED program, which they were going to include our health curriculum in. So we might be in a little bit of a spot there as how do we address it for this semester and then moving forward for that further review. We didn't really come to a concise solution to that, but it's on everyone's tables and in their minds. During the meeting, we were provided the state standards on health. As a committee, or kind of individually, I should say, pointed out various concerns regarding ambiguous language that could easily be co-opted within the standards that are provided to DPI and represent the state standards. And I'll just read 3 of them here. Section 4.4b sub 3, demonstrate ways such as restorative justice practices to manage and resolve interpersonal conflicts without harming self or others. Section A, develop strategies to advocate for health issues 8.4A1, apply social norms and formulate health-enhancing messages. And then Section 8.4A2, adapt health-enhancing messages and persuasive communication techniques to a specific target audience. Those were just some examples. There were others in the state standards. I know throughout our discussion, we kind of explained how we could adopt the state standards and then prioritize them as we build out the curriculum for that. I think that's one option. There was some also discussion of us potentially writing our own our own standards around health, just to weed out a lot of this ambiguous language or co-optable language. I know Chris had shared his understanding of what restorative justice practices would mean in this case versus other cases and social arguments. But with it in there, I know my issue with it is its ability to be ambiguous and applied in different ways. I would hate to see somebody say, well, these are the standards you adopted, and therefore I'm practicing that in my class. Chris and Jake have also explained we can kind of corral some of that based off of how we adopt the standards, how we develop the curriculum around the standards. Tracy, I don't know if you had been capturing that full conversation correctly.
I mean, I think you're given a pretty good insight as far as the, honestly, the level of detail that we actually got into. I think we might have all been a little surprised at how deep we got, but everything you've shared certainly matches up to what I experienced.
Yeah, I think we're in good shape. You know, we talked about a few of our concerns, and I'm not sure if any of the 19 pages I mentioned, if we're going to rewrite any of that or rework it, or can we? Because there is some text in there that could be taken several different ways. I'm thinking maybe we have yet another policy update to make to cover some of these things so that they don't go the wrong way, you know, and we start teaching things that we don't want taught in the classroom, for example. So I think we're in good shape.
And that's all I had. I just wanted to make sure, we discussed a lot. I didn't want to misrepresent anybody's ideas of what was discussed. I appreciate that discussion. Like I said before, I know it was over an hour long. That's probably unusual, but I appreciate your time, both of you, and all four of you, I should say, and the time tonight to discuss it with the rest of the board and share it with the community. So thank you.
Thank you. All right, moving on to item 10, new business, discussion and action to approve 2022-2023 teacher resignation. Mr. Nowak.
Thank you. Buffy Wargelot recently submitted her letter of resignation effective November 27th, 2022. She was hired in August of 2008 in the Germantown School District as a speech-language pathologist and has served primarily at Rockfield Elementary School. We ask that you approve the resignation.
All right, I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve the resignation of Buffy Wargelot and
Second.
thank her for her service to the students, their families, and the Germantown School District.
Second.
And,
Sorry.
and approve posting and filing the vacancy. Now go.
I'll second.
Okay, Amanda with a motion, Russ with a second. Any discussion? Bob?
Is this putting us in a bind right now to backfill her?
Yes.
Good luck. Thank you.
Anything further? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That passes. Moving on to item B, discussion and action to approve 2022-23 teacher contract. Mr. Nowak.
Thank you. We have two limited term contracts to bring forward tonight. Amelia Amy Emmerich, third grade teacher at Amy Bell, is being recommended to fill an FMLA leave. This is a 1.0 FTE for 85 days at $22,525. Second, Nathan Wallenweber, mathematics teacher at Germantown High School, is being recommended for limited time, 1.0, 124-day position at $32,948. This is actually for 2 FML leaves that we're confident are going to kind of butt up against each other. Very qualified candidate. We're very happy in that it's going to relieve a number of overloads that are currently in place in the high school.
Very good. I'll entertain a motion.
Move to approve the 1.0 FTE limited term contract for Amelia Emmerich at $22,525 and the 1.0 FTE limited term contract for Nathan Wollenweber at $32,948.
I'll second.
Tracy with the motion, Russ with the second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That passes. Item C, discussion and action to approve donations. Dr. Reiger.
Yes, in the season of giving, we have, again, some very generous donations this evening. As you can see, I'll go through them for various things, co-curriculars and programming across the district. Asking for approval this evening for Westbury Bank, $250 to Girls Swim, Germantown Hoops, $2,351.71 to boys basketball, Himalayan Consultants, $300 to Pom and Dance, Homer's Towing, $400 to Girls Golf, Germantown Soccer Club, $1,340 to GHS Boys Soccer Program for equipment specifically, Rosenthal and Associates Incorporated, $250 to our Germantown High School bowling team, Brady Corporation Foundation, $400 matching gift on behalf of Heidi Moens to Germantown, Powerlifting Club, Charming Paws LLC, $1,000 to our Pom and Dance, National Marketing, $500 to GHS Pom and Dance, National Sales Inc., $1,000 to GHS Pom and Dance, Chiara Communities Inc., I believe that's $100 to GHS Pom and Dance, it's a typo. Germantown Kiwanis, $3,000 to our environmental club for the greenhouse space. Justin and Janelle Voisin, $250 to the Germantown Environmental Club for the greenhouse space. DSM Food Specialties, $250 to Germantown Food Service. Kennedy Middle School PTA, $1,000 for the BizTown field trips for this current school year. Washington High Class of 1972, $1,000 for a display case at Germantown High School, and Washington High Class of 1972, $834.40 to the Students Assistance Fund.
I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve all donors and thank them for their amazing generosity to our schools and students.
Second.
Amanda with the motion, Tom with the second. Any discussion? Bob?
Once again, this is very generous from our community, and this is just the tip of the iceberg in terms of our constituents that always give back more and more and more. I'm just putting this out there, not for discussion tonight, just to think about. I know we're going to say thank you tonight, but maybe we need to do a better job, not a better job, but maybe we need to have a recognition dinner for them, for all the donors year over year that contribute to the Germantown school districts. And I don't know what that would look like. Maybe it's a little event here with wine and cheese. Well, we can't have wine unless we change the board policy. But just a little thank you, just to get together, get everybody together and just say thank you from the bottom of our heart, because there's a lot of heavy lifting here with what's going on in our community with inflation, recession, and so forth. So I applaud everybody for doing this. But maybe there's a way that we could do something different rather than just recognizing them tonight. So just a thought.
I hope whichever way we do find to recognize them, we do it in a budget-savvy way.
Good thought.
Amen.
Mike?
Yeah, while I've lived in Germantown most of my life, I believe it's just a little bit of a history lesson here. I believe when KMS was the high school, I believe it was called Washington High School. Is that's what's going on here? Okay, so that's why it says Washington High School. And Melissa, don't be mad at me, but this list of donors is so long, and I wish to thank each and every one of them. But for a minute there, I thought this was a typo and maybe a carryover from last month. You know, the list is about the same length, and I'm like, is this really real? You know, it's so fantastic that, you know, I didn't go back and check last month because I didn't think Melissa made a mistake, but.
No chance.
It's really a great list of donors and donations here, so thank you, everyone.
Thank you. All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That passes. Moving on to item D, discussion and action to approve overnight travel request. Dr. Reuter.
Yes, Christina Burmeister, the cheerleading coach, is requesting board approval this evening for the War Chicks to travel to sunny Disney in Orlando, Florida, from February 15th to the 20th. They have qualified to perform in the Disney Parade and take dance classes by professionals to excel their dancing skills, along with many other competitive teams and dancers from the Midwest area. The trip will consist of 23 students and 3 advisors, and the families will pay all expenses.
I'll entertain a motion.
I move to approve the overnight travel request for the Germantown War Chicks students and advisors to travel to Disney in Orlando, Florida from February 15th through the 20th, 2023 as presented.
Second.
Tracy with the motion, Amanda with the second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That passes. All right, I'm looking for a motion to enter into closed session pursuant to Wisconsin State Statute 19.851D to consider strategies for crime detection and prevention. Wisconsin State Statute 19.851C to consider employment, promotion, compensation, or performance evaluation data of any public employees over which the governmental body has jurisdiction or exercises responsibility. The board may take action in closed session if necessary or appropriate to entertain a motion to reconvene into open session to take further action if necessary and appropriate, and or to entertain a motion to adjourn the meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Amanda and Russ with the second. Roll call.
Medved?
Yes.
Breineman?
Yes.
Myself, yes. Soderberg?
Yep.
Loth?
Yes.
Ewert?
Yep.
Pollock?
Yes.
All right, we are in closed session, 8:31. Thank you all for coming and drive home safely. And have a great Thanksgiving this week.